Are you considering traveling during your golden years? I certainly hope so, but before you go, you might want to check out some important information about healthcare coverage in the event of an accident or healthcare need that should arise on your vacation. I'm Brian Wheelis. Welcome back to the On the Money YouTube channel powered by Allied Wealth. Thanks for tuning into the channel as always. If you like the content we're putting out, give us a like down below for the video and also hit the subscribe button, and we'll keep sending out new videos as we produce them for you. So today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what happens when you travel abroad in retirement and kind of how your health insurance is taken care of. So, in the event that there's a need. So, the first thing is let's talk about someone who's not yet 65 and not yet on Medicare. Usually, your healthcare insurance may have some type of limited coverage, but oftentimes they don't. I was recently in Mexico, and a dear friend of mine had to have a procedure in Mexico, and he found out that his healthcare company actually covered a very small amount of his expenditure while in Mexico. So you want to check with your insurance provider and see if they do provide coverage while you're in another country or abroad, and find out what those coverage limitations are. Super important to know so you have an understanding of what's covered in the event you do find yourself with a healthcare issue. Now, it gets a little more tricky when we get to age 65 and go on to Medicare. Most of us who have healthcare insurance now will switch to 65 at Medicare, and we'll also get a supplemental policy and that sort of thing. So quickly, just to kind of refresh, Medicare Part A is hospital coverage. Medicare Part B is outpatient coverage, if you will, and Medicare Part D is prescription drug plans and coverage and that sort of thing. So that's covered, all that's provided if you're in the U.S. And the U.S. territories, and that's all pretty straightforward. But you can go to any doctor in any territory in the United States or the U.S. territory that accepts Medicare, and most do. But when you travel abroad with Medicare, things get a little more interesting, a little bit more tricky. So Medicare does not provide coverage when you are abroad. All right. There are a few circumstances where it might, and that is if you're on a ship within territorial waters adjoining the United States, and that's within 6 hours, a port within 6 hours. So if you're on a cruise ship within 6 hours of a port in the U.S., Medicare would provide coverage. If you're 6 hours and 10 minutes away from a U.S. port, Medicare would not provide coverage. All right. So there's one other caveat too, is let's say you're traveling home from Alaska, and you're on the way home and you find yourself, needing to have coverage. You would be provided coverage if you're traveling from state to state and have to stop maybe in Canada, for instance, and get healthcare services provided to you. You would be provided coverage in that instance. So again, traveling state to state, crossing a foreign country like Canada to traveling from Alaska to the U.S. or U.S. to Alaska, stopping in Canada for healthcare, or on a ship within 6 hours of a U.S. port. In both those cases, Medicare would provide coverage for you. All right. But that's a pretty small window, right? The world's a lot bigger place, and we all want to travel and do a lot more than that and enjoy ourselves in our golden years because, hey, after all, what do we spend the last 30 or 40 years working for? So traveling abroad gets a little bit more interesting. Most of us who are on Medicare will have a Medicare supplemental insurance policy, also known as a Medigap policy. Plan C, Plans D, Plans F, Plans G, and Plans N offer coverage for travel. All right. You pay a $250 deductible, and then 20% up to a lifetime maximum of $50,000. Now, that's one of these things where you got to be careful because you can exceed $50,000 really fast in a hospital. And that $50,000 supplemental insurance is designed to get you, to the point in a foreign country, stable enough, so if you will, to where you can travel back to the United States and have your procedure done or medical procedure done or healthcare services provided to you that would in fact be covered by Medicare. So that's kind of to bridge the gap and get you home. It's absolutely not for one of these medical procedures where you may travel abroad trying to seek cheaper healthcare, which are certainly options out there to do. That's not what this Medicare supplemental policy coverage is for. All right. It is, again, to get you stable enough to be able to travel back home to the United States to get into a hospital system that does provide coverage under Medicare, and that way your Medicare policy and supplemental policy would cover your care. All right. So does that mean you shouldn't travel? And the answer is no, folks. I mean, heck, like I said a minute ago, we've worked 30, 40 years to be able to put ourselves in that position to go enjoy life and go travel and cross off our bucket list. And for many people, that doesn't include traveling abroad. So if that's you, okay, and I hope it is, by the way, what you should do is look into purchasing healthcare insurance for a trip. All right. And a couple of caveats here is these things, you can provide them for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a period of time, whatever it is. And they're relatively inexpensive, and I believe absolutely worth the cost. But you got to be careful because some of them exclude pre-existing conditions, and so you want to make sure that you have a policy that does in fact cover any pre-existing conditions. Like, for instance, if you're diabetic and find yourself in a diabetic coma, God forbid, in another country, that was excluded, that coverage for that diabetic coma treatment would not be covered under the policy, and you'd be forced to pay for that, which again could be very expensive. So make sure that if you have any pre-existing conditions and you're shopping these coverage policies, that in fact you are buying one that does cover pre-existing conditions, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where it doesn't. And then if you don't have any pre-existing conditions, again, you can purchase those for a period of time. They're pretty inexpensive. And I believe a pretty inexpensive way to be able to go and do all the things that you want to do in your golden years, go see all the things you want to go see, and not have to worry about health care coverage in the event of an issue overseas. I remember, for instance, one of my favorite actors, James Gandolfini, he died of a heart attack in Italy. Now, he obviously wasn't old enough to be on Medicare, but I kind of think about how he, come out on the other side of that. What the cost would have been. So nonetheless, from personal experience, I've seen the cost be high. Like I said, just had a buddy of mine go through it in Mexico. Thought it was a good idea to shoot this video and spend some time talking about how it works and what you can do to get good coverage in the event you are traveling the world. I certainly hope you are. I'm Ryan Wheelis, host of the On the Money YouTube channel powered by Ally Wealth. If you like the content we're putting out, again, give us a like down below, hit the subscribe button, and we'll keep notifying you when we put out more great content.